When you walk down a city street and see that spinning red, white, and blue pole outside a shop, you know exactly what's waiting. It's a universal signal for a fresh fade, a straight razor shave, and maybe some of the best conversation in the neighborhood. It feels nostalgic, friendly, and totally harmless. But have you ever actually stopped to look at it and wonder why? Why is the international symbol for a haircut a rotating stripe of primary colors? Most people assume it's just a design choice from the good old days, or maybe something patriotic because of the American flag colors. But the truth is actually a lot darker and a lot messier than you'd ever expect. That spinning pole isn't just a sign for a haircut. It's a centuries-old advertisement for surgery, human blood, and a medical procedure. So, how did a symbol of medieval medical horror become the icon of the modern barbershop? Let's break it down. Welcome to the smart side. To understand the pole, we have to go back to the Middle Ages. Back then, if you were sick, you didn't just go to a doctor. Academic physicians of that era were mostly scholars who studied books and thought that actually touching a patient was beneath them. If you needed something done, if you needed a tooth pulled or a broken bone set to, went to the guy who was already good with sharp tools. You went to the barber. For hundreds of years, these barber surgeons were the backbone of local medicine. The same man who trimmed your beard in the morning might be performing a minor surgery on your neighbor in the afternoon. But their most popular service by far was something called bloodletting. In the medieval world, the leading medical theory was based on the four humors. Your body was controlled by IV fluids. If you got sick, it wasn't because of a virus. It was because your fluids were out of balance. The fix? Drain some excess blood. People went to the barber for a bloodletting the way we go for a flu shot today. It was seen as the cure for everything. This is exactly where the pole comes in. During a bloodletting, the patient had to hold onto a staff or a wooden pole very tightly. Squeezing the pole made the veins in the arm pop out, making it much easier for the barber to find a spot to cut. That wooden staff was the original barbershop pole. Now, imagine the scene. There's blood everywhere. To clean it up, the barber would use long strips of white linen bandages. After the procedure, the barber would wash those bloody bandages and hang them outside on the pole to dry in the wind. As the breeze caught them, the long strips of white cloth would twist and wrap around the pole, stained with streaks of bright red blood. Over time, this became the logo of the shop. If you saw a pole with red and white bandages, you knew the barber was open. Eventually, to make the sign permanent, barbers stopped hanging real bandages and just started painting the poles with red and white stripes. And those brass balls you see, the top ball represents the brass basin where the blood was collected during the procedure. The bottom ball, that's where they kept the leeches. It's a lot less aesthetic when you realize you're looking at a 15th century leech station. But wait, where did the blue come in? In Europe or the UK today, you'll actually see a lot of poles that are strictly red and white. But in the United States, the blue stripe is almost mandatory. There are two main theories for this. The first is pure patriotism. During the early days of America, everything was being branded with the colors of the flag. However, some historians believe the blue represented the veins, while red represented arterial blood, a literal map of the circulatory system. By the mid-1700s, the medical world changed. Real surgeons didn't want to be associated with guys who cut hair and pulled teeth anymore. In 1745, King George II officially passed a law that separated barbers and surgeons into two different professions. The surgeons took the hospitals, and the barbers kept the shops. But even though they weren't surgeons anymore, the barbers kept the pole. It was a powerful brand. Everyone knew what it meant, and it had become a symbol of trust and tradition in the community. Over the next 2 centuries, the pole evolved from a sign of blood and bandages to a sign of shaves and haircuts. It's fascinating. We've completely scrubbed the gross history out of our minds, but we kept the symbol. Even the spinning movement of the modern pole is meant to mimic those bloody bandages blowing in the wind. The next time you see that pole rotating, take a second to appreciate the history. You're looking at one of the oldest marketing campaigns. It survived the plague, the Industrial Revolution, and modern medicine. It's a reminder that decorations are often deep connections to our past. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe to the Smart Side. See you in the next one.